Looking at in the top international story, UK is ready to take a 25% in Tata Steel's British operations to save the loss-making mills from shutting down. That is the big story that we'll be looking at as well. But let us begin with the headlines. Setback to central government. Uttarakhand High Court sets aside presidential rule in the state. Floor test to be conducted on 29th of April. Centre to move Supreme Court. Nearly 80% polling registered in West Bengal in third phase of elections for 62 seats. Sporadic incidents of violence, including killing of a CPIM worker, reported. No respite from the heat wave. Met Department predicts 2016 will be the hottest summer ever. Gujarat government cautions dams in the state drying up. Volkswagen reaches a deal with the US over excess diesel emissions in nearly 6 lakh of its vehicles. Substantial compensation and car buyback deals part of the agreement. And British government announces it will acquire 25% stake in Tata Steel's UK operations. Britain's biggest steel maker had announced thousands of job cuts earlier this year as part of cost reduction plan. The big story this morning, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat held an informal meeting with his party MLAs and PDF legislators in the evening on Thursday after the High Court quashed the President's rule and restored his dismissed government. Now, Rawat's media in charge, Surendra Kumar, however, said that he has not formally taken over the post of the Chief Minister. He said that the High Court had restored his government and as such there is no need for him to formally take charge. Earlier, Rawat had and his cabinet ministers and State Congress Chief Kishore Upadhyay met Governor K.K. Paul at the Raj Bhavan. Rawat said that the centre is free to approach the Supreme Court and that the state will be presenting its side there as well. Meanwhile, Uttarakhand Assembly Speaker Govind Kunjwal welcomed the court's decision and said that the effective strength of the House has now come down to 62 as the State High Court has upheld the disqualification of the 9 rebel Congress MLAs as well.
भाई उनको पूरा अधिकार है, वो जाएं, हम कहाँ कह रहे हैं, हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी अपना निवेदन रखेंगे और हमें पूरा भरोसा है कि हमें न्याय मिलेगा।
निश्चित रूप से प्रजा लोकतंत्र की जीत हुई है और जिस तरह से एक चुनी हुई सरकार को एक तानाशाह के रूप में बर्खास्त किया गया था, उनके ऊपर बहुत बड़ी चोट है और ये भविष्य के लिए राजनीतिक दलों के लिए, नेताओं के लिए, सरकारों के लिए बहुत बड़ा एक सबक भी है कि किस तरह से जनता की चुनी हुई सरकारें चलनी चाहिए।
Earlier, in a major setback to the centre, the Uttarakhand High Court set aside the president's rule in the state. Former Chief Minister Harish Rawat was told to take a fresh floor test on 29th of April to determine if he can continue as the head of the Congress government in the state. Now, the centre has decided to move the Supreme Court on the matter today.
Celebrations at former Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat's residence moments after the Nainital High Court quashed the centre's decision to impose President's rule in the state. The court ruled that imposition of President's rule in the Hill State was contrary to the laws laid down by the Supreme Court, underscoring that this should be used as a matter of last resort. It has also ordered a fresh floor test in the Uttarakhand Assembly on the 29th of April.
As far as this President rule is concerned, that has been struck down by the division bench today. The division had dictated the judgment in open court and restored the position of Mr. Harish Rawat as on 27th March 2000 when the President rule was imposed.
Rawat called it a victory for the people of Uttarakhand, while the BJP claimed it held majority with 36 MLAs.
4 जबरदस्त घाव जो उत्तराखंड के शरीर पर लगे, माननीय उच्च न्यायालय के आदेश से जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने थ्रेडबेयर सब चीजों पर न्याय दिया है, मरहम लगा है।
कोई आश्चर्य नहीं, क्योंकि 3 दिन से जिस प्रकार बेंच से टिप्पणियां हो रही थी उससे लग रहा था कि निर्णय ये अपेक्षित है। आज भी हम कह रहे हैं कि हरीश रावत अल्पमत में है। 29 तारीख को भी ये सिद्ध होगा कि वो अल्पमत में ही है।
The rebel Congress MLAs now want the centre to approach the Supreme Court.
मुझे लगता है कि फैसला सही नहीं है। राष्ट्रपति का जो आदेश था वो बहुत साउंड था, लीगल था, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल था। अब हाईकोर्ट ने एक फैसला दिया है तो मैं तो केंद्र सरकार को राय दूंगा कि वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाए और सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो है इस पूरे आदेश की समीक्षा करे।
Constitutional experts called it a historic ruling.
First time that a high court has reviewed the imposition of president's rule and as a consequence set it aside.
The state of Uttarakhand was brought under president's rule on the 27th of March, just a day before a floor test was to be held. The union cabinet made the recommendation to the president, citing breakdown of constitutional machinery in the hill state following a rebellion in the ruling Congress. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi launched a scathing attack on Prime Minister Modi following the High Court order on Uttarakhand. Rahul Gandhi took to Twitter and said, Modi government's blatant power grab fails, democracy wins. He added, Modi ji, while you attack the constitution, destroy institutions and undermine democracy, please remember people of Uttarakhand and the entire country are watching, quote unquote. In fact, the party asked the Prime Minister and also the BJP chief Amit Shah to tender an unconditional apology to the nation. Meanwhile, reactions on this big news story continues to pour in. Let's listen in to some of them.
हाई कोर्ट को और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को जो कुछ भी कानून इसके संबंध में है उसको इंटरप्रेट करने का संवैधानिक अधिकार है और उसके आधार पर पूरी सुनवाई करने के बाद वो इस नतीजे पर पहुंचे, अपने आप में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण फैसला है ये।
हम न्यायालय के प्रति सर झुकाकर प्रणाम करते हैं, शीश नवाते हैं कि उन्होंने सत्य की, न्याय की, संविधान की और परंपराओं की रक्षा की है।
ये संतोषजनक फैसला नहीं है और हम ये समझते हैं कि हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे और हमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट से न्याय मिलेगा, ऐसी हमें आशा है।
As I told another channel just now, we don't even have a copy of the judgment. So till I read the judgment, I cannot say what observations are there or not. But certainly, we shall be asking for a stay of the judgment and saying that a presidential notification cannot be quashed in this fashion.
Let's move on to some other news now. Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu has called the Goods and Services Tax Bill need of the hour. Naidu said that the government will try to convince the opposition for the smooth passage of the legislation in the second part of the budget session that begins on 25th of April. Now, speaking to reporters, Naidu said that they had almost completed discussion with most of the parties. There were one or two issues that he called were the need of the hour.
GST, we are almost completed discussion with the majority of the parties. There are one or two issues that also we will try to convince opposition and we want to get it passed because GST is the need of the hour.
Meanwhile, as the water crisis worsens in the country, the Gujarat government on Thursday said that most of the 200-odd dams in the state were witnessing fast depleting water levels in scorching summer, leaving them with just over 21% of their actual storage capacity. Till now, the state government has declared 994 villages of parched Saurashtra and Kutch regions as partially scarcity hit. In view of the acute water crisis, the government has announced to keep water in 56 dams reserved for providing drinking water to people. In order to tackle the situation, government has also announced to increase the water supply through Narmada Canal network. The government also said that more than 300 villages in 14 districts are being given water through tankers at present. The government has also announced to distribute cattle fodder at concessional rates to the farmers and cattle rearers in the worst hit regions. On to our special focus on the drought crisis in Maharashtra's Marathwada region. Now, Beed district is the worst affected with wells, reservoir and the dams dried up completely. Now, this is also a region from where maximum farmer suicides have been reported. Beed is State Minister Pankaja Munde's district, and despite her recent drought selfies controversy, locals say that some timely steps have made a slight difference. Here is a report.
Mourning the death of Kailash Tilak Rao More. This owner of 16 bighas in Ronas village of Beed district ended his life on 11th of April, unable to pay his farming debts. More is one of the 55 farmers who committed suicide in the district this year. Some time ago, the government had acquired a part of his land for the National Highway project. The family had pinned its hope on the 42 lakh rupees as they were promised as compensation. But bureaucratic red tape prevented it from reaching them. Expenses that More incurred on his son Gorakhnath's wedding last month further swelled his debts, proving to be the final straw for him. More's story is shared by almost every other farmer in the village.
वो बहुत दिन से बीड़ को आ रहे थे, पैसे नहीं मिले इसलिए उन्होंने सुसाइड किया और उनकी ज़मीन जो जा रही है रोड में उसके पैसे नहीं मिल रहे थे इसलिए वो परेशान थे। 3 साल से बारिश नहीं हो रही है और खेत में कुछ भी अनाज नहीं पैदा हुआ।
Dominated by Marathas, the 1500-strong population in Ronas village includes members of all communities. It used to be a prosperous place once, but that was before recurring droughts for the last 5 years ruined the local economy. Fallow land and scarcity of drinking water have together crushed the hopes of the villagers. The lone hand pump manages to cough up water to fill up 4 vessels a day, which is why every household has installed tanks to store water. Tankers provide each family about 500 liters of water once every 8 days. To prevent fights from breaking out, the village panchayat decides the distribution of the water. But despite this, the water provided by the administration is not fit to drink, and women are forced to walk long distances for clean water.
5 साल हो गया बारिश नहीं, इसलिए खेती में कुछ आता नहीं, हर किसान को कोई पीक नहीं, कुछ नहीं, गांव में पानी नहीं, सब वो परेशानी में है।
यहाँ 8 दिन को 10 दिन को 11 दिन को एक बार ही टैंकर आता है ना, आता है तो गंदा पानी आता है। हम गरीबी लोग हैं, अभी कौन बोलता है ये करो वो करो, बाद में दवाखाने में जाने का पैसा कहाँ से लाने का, बताओ हम लोग को तो क्या करने का हम लोग ने।
District Magistrate Naval Kishore Rai admits the situation is very bad, but he points out the administration is operating a round-the-clock war room that's taking steps on several levels to overcome the crisis.
हमारा वाटर टैंक है, तकरीबन उसमें 12,000 लीटर पानी होता है और एक गांव में तो बोल सकते हैं कि औसतन 2 या 3 ट्रिप्स हम लगाते हैं, तो तकरीबन 1,500 ट्रिप्स है, तो इतने सारे टैंक्स के द्वारा लोगों को पानी दे रहे हैं।
In view of the water crisis, the local administration has provided 265 cattle camps in Beed. In all, about 2,65,000 cattle are provided fodder and water here. 80% of such cattle camps are located in Marathwada alone. Villagers say they are satisfied with the arrangements. 25 million people are facing the twin problems of drought and water scarcity in Beed district. While farmers and poor people are fleeing the district, authorities have stationed almost 900 tankers besides diverting water rationed from the city. But it's all proving to be an uphill battle against the rising heat and water scarcity. Arvind Kumar Singh's report from Beed district in Maharashtra for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get you some weather update. In 2016 could be the hottest summer ever. The Met Department has attributed the intense heat to the El Nino phenomena, which is likely to become neutral in the coming months. Now, Met Department said that 2015 was the hottest year recorded. But with the mercury already rising above the normal this year, the summers are expected to be the hottest. Now, India is reeling under intense heat wave conditions with hundreds of people dying across the country due to sunstroke. The IMD has already made a forecast of a summer with above normal temperatures. Globally, too, the year is expected to be the hottest. United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration also has termed March 2016 as the hottest March so far. The agency also said that for 2016, global average temperature was 2.07 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average. Well, in News at 10, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
My research sort of speciality is essentially signal processing. For a person who works on this multi-detector sort of strategy, I think having detected in India is fantastic. I'm more excited is to see this kind of a system which we never expected.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Archana Pai, Assistant Professor, IISER Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Now it's our time for Verdict 2016, where we get you all the election-related news. Nearly 80% of polling was reported in the third phase of West Bengal, where 62 seats went to polls. The polling, however, was marred by sporadic incidents of violence. Here is a report.
An impressive turnout in the third phase of elections in West Bengal.
At 5 p.m., the figure reported to us by the CEO is 79.22% voter turnout.
There were sporadic incidents of violence reported, including the killing of a CPIM worker. There were also incidents of crude bomb hurling and clashes between rival political parties.
Few cases of throwing of crude bombs were also reported, and it was reported that some of the political party supporters were injured. In all the cases, FIR has been lodged against the culprits, and many of those culprits have been apprehended. Investigations are going on, and very soon we'll be, I'm sure that everybody would be apprehended.
Heavy turnout of 81.62% was recorded in 17 seats of Nadia, 79.29% in 22 seats of Murshidabad, and 78.26% in 16 seats of Burdwan. However, the 7 constituencies of northern Kolkata registered only 57.05% votes. 62 constituencies went to vote in this phase. In the 2011 assembly polls, the voter turnout stood at 84.83%, while it was 81.80% in the 2014 Lok Sabha polls in the constituencies, which went to polls on Thursday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The newly constituted Bank Boards Bureau will meet for the second time today to deliberate on a host of issues, including consolidation, stressed assets and capital infusion. The board will also decide on filling board-level vacancies in various banks, and will also discuss ways to bring down NPA level down in public lenders. The board's first meeting was held on 8th of April, which was attended by Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha and RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan. The Bureau has been constituted earlier this year to help the government select heads of PSBs and financial institutions and assist banks in developing strategies and also capital raising plans. Moving on now, after the BJP claimed that the French Rafale fighter deal is finalized, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar now has given a different version. Parrikar said that the deal is not complete yet, although it is in an advanced stage, and the government's intention is to seal the deal by May end. India has been bargaining hard with France over the pricing of the 36 jets, which will be brought through government-to-government basis. Now, the original deal of buying 126 multiple role fighter jets with France had run into trouble over pricing issues, which after intervention by Prime Minister Modi and French President François Hollande was cut down to 36 jets in flyaway condition to meet the Indian Air Force's urgent need. The BJP had tweeted earlier a picture saying that the Rafale combat aircraft deal has been finalized, and the Narendra Modi government had saved over 21,000 crore rupees in the renegotiation with the French government.
While the deal is in quite advanced stage and we intend to close it quite soon, still I can't say that the negotiations are totally cleared until we sign the deal, or at least the deal is forwarded to the cabinet for approval.
News from across the border now. In Pakistan has warned India that the 2611 trial could face further delay if India does not send 24 witnesses to Pakistan to record their statements. Now, a court official said, and I quote him now, the hearing of the case is adjourned without any proceedings during the last 3 consecutive weeks, 6th, 13th and 20th of April, because the Pakistani government is still awaiting its counterparts' response about sending Indian witnesses to Pakistan for recording their statements in the case, quote unquote. Now, putting the ball in India's court, Pakistan has said that their court has already completed recording the statements of all Pakistani witnesses in the case. And for the trial to move further, India must now send all the 24 Indian witnesses to depose before it. This comes even as the anti-terrorism court in Islamabad has not yet announced its order on the prosecution's request to make amendment in the charges against the suspects, including LET operatives Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, in abetment to murder of each individual in the Mumbai carnage. Now, Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, believed to be the mastermind of the Mumbai attacks, is living in an undisclosed location after he was released from bail a year ago. The other 6 suspects are in Rawalpindi jail. News from Japan now. Well, a week after a series of earthquakes, heavy showers fell in southern part of the country, adding to the woes of residents already rattled by continuing aftershocks. Now, the search has been halted on the slopes of the landslides, where 2 people are still missing. A total of 11 bodies been dug out since Saturday. More than 1 lakh local residents scared by the continuing aftershocks are now living in evacuation centres, and 11 have died due to the stress of living in cramped quarters. The Japanese self-defense forces along with volunteers have been involved in the search for survivors, and they're looking after evacuees as well. Some 600 aftershocks have rattled the area following 2 quakes. More than 87 of the tremors have registered at least 4 on the Japan's intensity scale, obviously strong enough to shake buildings. Japan's Met Agency has warned residents to expect the earth to continue to rumble in southern part of the country for at least another week.
車の中にします、また車でちょっと戻りますっていう方もいらっしゃいますね。家の安全が確保できないという人たちがたくさんいます。家を失った人たちには仮設住宅が必要になります。今日本の国では道路の復興をまずは最優先していますが。
News from the US now, where the Volkswagen and the Justice Department have reached a deal in principle to address excess diesel emissions in nearly 6 lakh polluting vehicles. Now, details of the preliminary agreement were announced in a California court. As part of the deal, Volkswagen will offer substantial compensation and car buyback deals in the United States. It will also include an environmental redemption fund to address excessive emissions. This settlement is a major step towards the German automaker's efforts to move past the issue that first came into light in September last year, when the company admitted to using sophisticated secret software in its car to cheat exhaust emissions test. The revelations had unleashed a scandal dubbed as Dieselgate in the media. Now, final details of the packages offered will be announced in the month of June, but a court had given Volkswagen and regulators until Thursday to reach a deal in principle. Now, analysts say that Volkswagen may have to spend more than $10 billion to comply with the US agreement. The deal is expected to settle more than 600 class action civil suits filed in the United States courts.
We're working really hard to try to get this resolved and to try to put this behind the company, and that's what we're focused on right now.
I think that Volkswagen owners are going to have to wait and see, I think. I hope they'll be pleased with what they see ultimately, but they'll get a chance to review it. And as the judge indicated, once they have a chance to review the final document, he's going to listen to all points of view before he approves it.
We're disappointed. We paid for the thing in full, and we feel like it's not of any value anymore. And we want Volkswagen to buy our car back.
A major relief for Tata Steel now. The British government has announced that it is willing to acquire a 25% stake in Tata Steel's UK operations to rescue the troubled Indian giant steel maker by helping potential buyers. UK Business Secretary Sajid Javi said that financial package would be jointly fashioned by the UK and Welsh authorities. Now, dismissing suggestions that the move would be perceived as a part nationalisation of the steel industry, the government stated that they are explicitly interested in the stake on a commercial basis. Besides a minority stake, the UK and Welsh governments are also considering additional grant funding, which could involve support for the development of the power plant infrastructure, energy efficiency and environment protection measures, as well as research and development and training.
The UK government has made it clear to any potential buyer out there that we understand that there's going to be some issues, whether they're to do with power, with a plant, with procurement, whatever those issues are, that we might be able to help with and help further. We've already done much to help the industry, but there might be some issues specific to this business. So we're listening. We've worked on this for a while, and we want to work with any potential buyer to see how we can help.
Well, time now to get you all the sporting action. Here is all the sports beat. India will host its first ever day-night test cricket with pink ball when New Zealand tour India later this year. BCCI Secretary said that the Leap Trophy will be played in the same format as the dress rehearsal for the day-night test match. He added that the main objective was to check how the pink ball behaves under the light in subcontinental conditions. Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy advanced to the quarterfinals of the China Masters. Fourth-seeded Sindhu defeated Chinese Taipei's Chin Hui Yu 21-9, 21-17. She will next face Thailand's Porntip Burana Pratsetsuk. In men's event, HS Pranoy defeated Malaysia's Darren Liu 21-10, 21-15 in the third round. Women's doubles pair of Jwala Gutta and Ashwini Punappa also made it to the last 8. Rafael Nadal progressed to the quarterfinals of the Barcelona Open with a comfortable 6-2, 6-2 victory over fellow Spaniard Albert Montañez. Nadal broke Montañez's serve 5 times during the match to continue his superb start to the clay court season. Japan's Kei Nishikori kept up his title defense with his 12th win in a row at the Barcelona. The defending champion defeated Jeremy Chardy 6-3, 7-5 in the third round. In football, Arsenal beat West Brom 2-0 to strengthen their hopes of a top 4 finish in the English Premier League. The Gunners had drawn their previous 2 games, but Alexis Sanchez scored twice in the first to move Arsenal up to the 3rd place. Arsenal are now on 63 points, 2 clear of 4th place Manchester City and 5 ahead of 5th place Manchester United. Well, that's all in this edition of News, but news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for watching.